The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend from the Yukon also arriving in Ottawa on the same flight with him, but I didn't have to start in the Yukon, getting it at 2:45 in the morning. Yes, we touched down. But I wanted to just say that I don't know why he feels that this was less important for all Canadians. I appreciate that it is only within the riding that he represents of Yukon. But this was an egregious thing that happened, Bill C-6. For the Champagne and Ahaisik, for the Teslin and Tlingit, for the Little Salmon Carmack First Nations, they entered into good faith negotiations with Canada. It was the honour of the Crown that's at stake when unilaterally one party to negotiations pushes through changes to something that was arrived at through good faith negotiations with those particular First Nations. I welcome the fact that now in the 42nd Parliament, with this Bill C-17, we're redressing what was quite egregious under Bill S-6. At the time, I fought those changes as well. They clearly went to court. This should be a classic case of lesson learned for a government in majority in power. Don't force through that which you want when you know the courts will overturn it. You waste public resources. And frankly, Stephen Harper's administration did this all too often. I make no comment on most of my Conservative friends in the room at the moment because they weren't in the 41st Parliament. But this is a classic case of wasting the public's time, insulting First Nations, and now we're putting it right.
The honourable member for Yukon.
Thank you. And thank the member for her constant support for this and her talking about the importance of it. And, you know, our government would rather, and the minister is right here and made this point, a very important point, that we would rather negotiate than litigate with First Nations. And that's exactly, I didn't want to bring up the litigation, but the member did, and that's exactly adds to the uncertainty that the Conservatives would like to get away from. Nothing would be going ahead. This would still be in the courts, but the Teslin Tlingit Council, the Champagne and Ajax First Nations and the Little Salmon Carmack First Nations have put their case, held it off because this is going forward to fix this grievous situation that both the Parliamentary Secretary and the Minister have guaranteed that we would fix.